actually included the release for the series' anniversary. What's kind of funny is that while they're all in the anime's art style, some seem to actually be traced from the manga itself to include certain poses that couldn't be ripped from the anime, which is kind of an interesting effect. Stickers also released like
今日も冒険頑張るのだ。
funny is also
気をつけていくんだぞ。
likely added since that otherwise extremely light. Something with Japanese fans I mentioned in this video. Another interesting thing for the Chami line sticker is based on Araki's wife. Yes, she actually does have a collection of stickers featuring illustrations of herself. Apparently a friend of hers drew them for her so that they keeps them in their friend group. I wish I had known this earlier so I could have brought it up since a while ago. Araki's wife in various interviews and stories she shared. She's quite an interesting and funny person, just like Araki, so I recommend checking out that video since it's one of my favorites that I've done. One mysterious characters in the series is the nameless gangster that inspired Giorno as a child. After he rescued him and Detective Giorno and inspired him to become a gangster herself, while the character doesn't have a room, has been given some titles in an official capacity. The JoJo trading card game Adventure Battle Card is actually referred to as Gangstar, which I think is actually a really fitting name for it. Also appears as a new promote production game Stardust Shooters. There he's referred to as Man X. Unlocking him in the game is actually difficult, since he's rewarded for locking him after 2,000 games. That's almost 5.5 years. It's also possible to obtain it from many players. The game first released in March of 2018 and closed permanently in April of 2021. That's 7 years, meaning you have to start playing for a year.
どうかしら。レアものね。
The name Man X was later used in the credits for Part 5's anime adaptation. The credits for the English dub, his name was changed slightly from Man X to Mr. X. In a previous video, I brought up Shonen Thunder issue number 4. Earliest known drawing made by Araki when he was in elementary school. There actually be signed his drawing with the pen name Toshiyuki Araki. However, I'd like to issue a correction here since this is actually not a pen name. Hirohiko Araki is a pen name, and Toshiyuki Araki is actually his real name. I was a bit thrown off since Araki once wrote under a different pen name for his original one-shot The Bottle. He went by Toshi Araki. You can see how the pen name also included part of his real first name. He wouldn't actually use the name Hirohiko Araki until Koshak PT a little bit later. If we're issuing corrections here, I actually have yet another one from the previous video. I'd like to personally apologize to Penguins on the anime event SOS from Greek Dolphin Street Jail. This was a crossover event with Sea Paradise Aquarium, which also featured an animal show.
どうかしら。レアものね。
to start the dolphin show. There I pointed out that in all the recordings I found, after the penguin was healed, they just ate the fish right off the string without triggering the sign, and the handler had to do it for him. However, I was mistaken, and I actually have found a video where the penguin successfully pulls the sign, so I would like to apologize to the penguin. Although in more recent footage from the Christmas event, it appears that Penguin-san has gone completely rogue and is having trouble with the sign again. One JoJo stand that you may not be familiar with is this one, Remote Romance. It doesn't actually include the series itself, but rather the 2012 JoJo exhibition for the series' 25th anniversary. This was an event held displaying multiple pieces of JoJo art as well as some sculptures of characters and objects from the series. The stand came about due to tickets for the exhibition selling out early, so the stand became a way to view the gallery from home. Using the Hangouts feature of Google Plus, viewers were able to see from the stand's perspective as it walked through the gallery. There were also separate feeds showing the stand from another perspective. Faces of the people in the call would actually end up displayed on the screen of the stand's face. The stand's name is based on the song Remote Romance by the band Camel. The album the song originates from, I Can See the House From Here, was also titled Remote Romance in its Japanese release. The stand itself also has a bit of backstory. It's said that the original user was a legendary hacker named Dixie Flatline, who was sentenced to death, leaving his stand behind on the internet. The name Dixie Flatline is taken from the 1984 science fiction novel Neuromancer, from a character who similarly died while leaving his mind behind on the wall.
はい、これも。
One
こっ
interesting
ちもですわ。
crossover
どうかしら。レアものね。
adventure.
やったわ。
This is a series of guidebooks made to teach the
はい、これも。こっち
translations
も
of
ですわ。
moments from JoJo. The first book released in October
レアものね。
used books are parts 1 to 4. This continued in 2016 with a book for parts 5 through 7. And finally, the newest book that released in November 2023, Senma Part 8, following books from the rest of the series as well.
そろそろ来ると思ってたぞ。
The series, though, is that it's supervised by Marty Friedman, the guitarist of the
ど
band
こにしまっ
Megadeth.
たか
It
な。
seems that he's quite a big fan of JoJo to still be collaborating after almost 10 years of these books. For the release of the first book, Friedman himself appeared in a promotional
何
video
何気をつけていくんだぞ。
JoJo.
Well, I'll read it for that. Are you? Yes,
Friedman has actually done a lot of work in Japan and has contributed music to many different Japanese games and movies. It's kind of surreal seeing certain iconic lines translated in ways we aren't really used to as English speakers. However, some of them come out of
毎度
the
あり。
sort of goes against the whole purpose.
おや
Another
Kimi
obscure
tachi.
JoJo crossover is the times that Araki actually made art for films. In a 2003 issue of Weekly Shonen Jump, Araki drew this picture of Jotaro as an advertisement for Adventures Reloaded. In 2007, he made a series of images for the
おや
Japanese
何を報告するんだい
film Prestige.
それじゃ聞かせてくれる
Christian Bale, Scarlett Johansson, and Hugh Jackman. The illustrations were given out as stickers with the purchase of tickets to the film. In 2011, Araki wrote a review for the movie Taken for the Asahi Shimbun newspaper, which was accompanied by the illustration of Leeson's character and his daughter. The JoJo series is pretty notable for having quite a lot of spin-off content, particularly in the form of novels. But each original novel was divided into parts, 2 novelizations of the live-action films, and a whole lot of short stories. People watching would probably be familiar
それ
with
じゃ聞かせてくれる
novels like Purple Haze Feedback, Over Heaven, or the somewhat infamous Torch to the Star. However, the one you're very unlikely to know is one that never actually got released. I'm talking about the anatomy lessons of Dr. Soul. This is a novel written by the author Otsuichi in 2000. It's a sequel of Part 4 focused on a boy named Kaoru who ends up meeting Josuke. Otsuichi had written a 100-page manuscript of the novel, but wasn't really happy with how it turned out.
どうするのかな
2002, a 30-page excerpt of the book was released in the magazine Yomu Jump. This is the only known piece of the novel it's available. This came with a release date for the novel in February of 2003. However, this didn't really work out. Otsuichi later said he had written over 2,000 pages that had been thrown out. He later started from scratch and completely reworked the story, and finally completed the novel in 2007. The finished product was the book, Fourth Another Day. This novel was also the sequel to Part 4, however, it had nothing to do with the initial story. This version is much more well-known, understandably, since it's an actual complete book which even has a fan translation. It just makes this old draft version really interesting. It's actually got multiple illustrations by Araki showing Josuke's Part 6 style, all of which is unused after this point. It also includes a new stand, the main character Kaoru. The stand doesn't have a name, but its ability is to spawn objects on the skin.
何を売るのぞ。
However, he needs to cut his skin to access the items. You'll see the full form of the stand.
何を
In
売
the
るのぞ。
illustration, you can't see the shape of a whole being behind it, which probably would have been revealed in the full story. Unlike the final novel, this version doesn't actually have a fan translation yet, but I'd be very interested. So if it were to get one, I'd definitely make a video about it sometime in the future. If you were online around 2014, you may be familiar with the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, a fundraising campaign for ALS disease research. It involved pouring a bucket of cold water over your head while donating money to a charity and
新
having
製
others
品が
as
ラインナッ
well.
プされたのじ
In
ゃ。
2014, Araki actually participated in this. The video was uploaded to a channel with his name, showing him walking out of the so before having water poured over. In the description, he nominated Sako Toshio, creator of the manga Tsugumi, who actually collaborated with before. Singer Sayori Ishikawa, who Araki had drawn an album cover for a couple years prior.
銭を貯めたらまた来るのだぞ。
Which is a luxury fruit seller similar to the Higashikata family. Jojolian, and Tsubasa Ita, director of the Meiji-Zaku Theater in Tokyo. Since then, the channel has not uploaded any more videos. The previous Fun Facts video I mentioned is Girl, a song from the band Baseball that used an image of Book from Part 4 as its cover and the depiction of her for its music video. This cover actually has one more interesting appearance, since it can actually be seen in the final chapter of the manga Dance. You are being displayed on an actual billboard
何を報告書類じゃ聞かせてくれる？
other advertisements in Tokyo in the background. Finally, we have a bit of behind-the-scenes info from the Stone Ocean anime. Commentary for the third Blu-ray set. The conversation between Toshiyuki Kato, director of the Stone Ocean adaptation, Yasuo Kobayashi, the anime screenwriter, and Kenichi Suzuki, the animation director. Show the reference to Rohan near the end of part 6, where Honda is unable to finish the script due to accelerated time. He asks if anyone is able to submit their work in time. Here's that Rohan is. Rohan's extremely fast drawing abilities. They said that they actually considered showing Rohan himself in the anime. They eventually decided against it, since if they weren't going to do anything significant with them, then they shouldn't bring him back. The line mentioning him is enough.
どうするのかな？
I've said it before, but these fun facts videos are some of my favorites to make. While they started off as just a way to a series of smaller topics that aren't enough for group videos, it's actually branched out a bit, and some of these topics are pretty big. So much so that I can actually be taking another soon. Some of these definitely deserve a standalone video.
何を売るの
There
さ
are escape room attractions. There's a topic you'd like to see
さてさて
whether it's
何の
a
ご
fun
用
fact
か
series
の
or a standalone video, comment down below.
なんじゃ
If you want to keep up with
あ
future
のとは
videos, make
冷
sure to
たい
subscribe and
の
click the bell. Also
そろ
join
そ
the
ろ来ると
Hop
思って
Discord
たぞ
to find out videos and any important
なんだ
JoJo
っけ
videos. Finally, I'd appreciate if you help support the channel on Patreon. There you receive Discord perks and you can submit patron questions. This video's question comes from Rex. They ask what my thoughts are on the covers for the English JoJo volumes. Well, my opinion is mixed, but maybe not in the way you expect. For starters, I actually like the new JoJo Marathi illustrations. It's definitely an interesting choice to have these since they don't match the
決
contents
まっ
of the book.
たら
But despite what a lot of people say when Marathi draws cool characters, I think they're actually good.
あへ
Starting
ん
with part 4, the books now use the original volume cover since there's no more JoJo illustrations. Again, I like these. The idea of having two covers, each on the front and back, is pretty smart since these are omnibus releases, and it ensures that we don't lose out on having the cover just from bad timing. Of course, I have issues with the release, mostly down to the localization issues and some of the formatting inside, but as part of my collection, I'm enjoying it. If you want to submit a question, you can join the Patreon at any tier and send them over DMs or community chat. Previously, this was only available on the mobile app, but now it's finally useful on desktop. If you just go to the side tab that says Community, you can leave your questions there. There's no limit to how many questions you can ask, so feel free to send in as many as you want, and they don't have to be related to JoJo either. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Sloth Dog, Doorbell, Crayon, Weedle Bids, Zukato, Pumpkin Doge, Arrow, All Might Court, Gap Grove, Lime Jijo, Sponge Cake, Pack-X, Feliciano Rabah, Rick Nene, Christian McDonough, Manuel Etienne, Pulse Dog, Ray Riet,
Hey, since I'm in the middle of a few big projects, I figured I'd post a small compilation of the JoJo videos that I've done so far. Don't worry, I'm not covered. It's such a specific intersection of his interests, and it's so entertaining. Thanks again to Squarespace. Excuse me, I've got a guy about a video. Yoo! Yes, good feedback. So next month we'll see the release of Paper Mario: The Thousand. I'm still having a hard time believing it myself. And as a quick aside, I really love how they're just using the original again. No HD, no remastered, nothing like that. In my original Remaster 1000-Year Door video, I argued that the game is of such high quality they could probably just package it like a regular new game and it would still do well, and it seems they've decided to go that route. Have you noticed that they rarely seem to mention that the game is a remake? Very interesting. So we're coming close to the game's release, and it's got Paper Mario fans all abuzz. Nintendo keeps putting out new footage and screenshots for us to drool over. It seriously looks incredible. It's shaping up to be another one of those perfect modernizations that brings the experience up to modern standards while keeping the spirit of the original entirely intact. Much like Metroid Prime Remastered. We're so fortunate. I can't wait to play. But, you know, more than anything, I can't wait for others to play. For other people to finally experience the game that I would personally say is my favorite single piece of Mario. I know I shouldn't overhype it, but just personally, the amount of sheer joy I felt when I first played it on release cannot be measured. And if it can hit anyone else in even almost the same way, even as hard, that's great. A really good thing. But as we've talked about, Thousand Year Door being remade isn't simply a case of us finally getting an official re-release of an old game that's difficult and expensive and handsome. This isn't something to be celebrated just because we like to be able to play games that we like. No, it represents something so much bigger for the Paper Mario series itself. Paper Mario fans have been on a long and arduous journey for the last 20 years, yada yada. After Thousand Year Door launched in 2004, Nintendo got in their heads that, for whatever reason, the series had drastically changed. Even when other series, most other series were allowed to stick to their roots, Paper Mario was cursed with a strange need to continuously reinvent itself. These reinventions have seen mixed results. Every single Paper Mario game has its fans. Yes, even Sticker Star. Each game has its merits. Any reasonable person can see that. Even the latest original title, Origami King, which was met with a wave of criticism and angry internet discourse, even more intense than the one created by Color Splash, and that's really saying something, has a tremendous number of fans. The game gets a lot right, and in some ways, I will admit, even pushes the series into exciting places. But as with every modern title, it also features extremely divisive concepts that many fans, myself included, simply cannot tolerate or tolerate reluctantly. And wherever you stand on each individual case, that's not a good place for a series to be. Constantly argued about, constantly disappointing longtime fans, constantly missing the mark in key areas, even considering Origami King or any of the other modern titles, the majority opinion is still that the formula was at its best 20 years ago. The first two games were the only two games in the series to be received with nothing short of unanimous. That was the only formula that felt close to perfect, that ticked the most boxes and made the most. So, naturally, fans like me have been wishing for the series to return to those roots, but with each new game that has seemed less and less likely. In some ways, the games have inched closer to those original titles, mainly in how they handle character and story, but in other ways, they've only doubled and tripled down on strange limitations and a stubborn refusal to utilize any elements that you might find in an ARM. Now, to Nintendo's credit, remaking two older Mario and Luigi games, that was pretty cool. Gotta give them that. Those games are RPGs and have original characters and whatnot, though by Nintendo's own admission, Mario and Luigi being an RPG series was one big reason why Paper Mario couldn't be one anymore. And even if the remakes retained much of their charm, they were also like kind of sanitized. Many of their more interesting NPCs replaced by generic Mario baddies. So in that way, they felt a little less like victories and more like Nintendo digging even deeper into this weird realm of blandness. And then, around the release of Origami King, there was the interview. Oh, what a dark, dark day. Mario history. Kensuke Tanabe, on that day, revealed that the reason newer Paper Mario games lacked unique races and interesting representations of existing ones was that those things weren't allowed anymore. This was not just a creative choice on his part. Apparently, some mysterious IP protection department within Nintendo, for whatever reason, deemed it against the cardinal laws of Mario to deliver something that just about all Paper Mario fans across the board unanimously considered one of the most important things about games. Paper Mario fans disagree on a lot. When it comes to story and character, yes, it's a no-brainer. It's the one single thing we can all agree on. But that literally wasn't allowed anymore, and to me, that review was the final nail in the coffin. With Nintendo insisting that Paper Mario literally can't feature interesting original characters, and with Tanabe insisting that each game has to have some wild new combat gimmick, regardless of how convoluted and frustrating this makes the games, I finally decided that there was no hope for Paper Mario to ever return to those roots. This was something I just had to stop actively believing might happen someday. As hope took too much energy to maintain, and the continued disappointment hurt too much. That hope pretty much died with Color Splash, but if there was a tiny spark still burning, Origami King with that energy snuffed it out. Paper Mario I love, never. But apparently, behind the scenes at Nintendo, something happened. I have to imagine they realized that these weird creative limitations were only hurting. I have to imagine they realized how staunchly ignoring the requests of their paying customers was a slightly weird thing for a company. I have to imagine they got a little tired of each game sparking enormous controversy. Like I said before, that is not a normal, healthy thing for a business. That's not the kind of attention you want your name to get. I can imagine it's extremely off-putting for newcomers. But whatever happened, maybe a big meeting between the creative directors, maybe a shift in producers, maybe an impassioned speech by Cody standing on a desk. I don't know, but in the case, something changed. 3 years later, all of a sudden, Nintendo decided to give us not one, but 2 remakes of Mario's most highly regarded RPGs. Even just Super Mario RPG. That was huge. The Thousand Year Door 2. I mean, Mario RPG. It's a classic. It's so old. It was originally an SNES game, and it doesn't really play into the whole creative limitations thing. Right? Is that why Nintendo is willing to remake it, even if it breaks all the rules? No. Thousand Year Door?
No way, there's still another floor.
That is the forbidden game. The one everyone talks about, but Nintendo pretends doesn't exist. The most creative, out there, weird, all-breaking Mario game there ever was. And if you look at the timeline, I would not be surprised if both games were greenlit immediately after the release of Origami. The timing is just too perfect. It feels so deliberate. Either this is Nintendo caving and giving us what we've been asking for, or dipping their toe back into more creative Mario RPGs to test the waters, or maybe a combination of both. And if this is a test, the results are very promising so far. Super Mario RPG Remake, which was also given its original straightforward name, no remake-related rating, I might add, sold over 3 million units in just the first 6 weeks. We haven't gotten any updated figures since then, but there is a good chance that it's already outsold Origami King and is on its way to the highest-selling Mario RPG ever. And now we've got Nintendo marketing Thousand Year Door like it's a new game, not trying to capitalize on nostalgia, not advertising it like a new version of an old experience. No, just putting it right out there with full confidence, and I will not be surprised if it ends up performing well too. Ah, but wait, there is even more to this story. I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, but one thing finally gave me that itch. You might have heard that there's a certain survey going around. It seems that Nintendo is asking people some questions about Mario RPGs. Very specific questions regarding things like art and games. Now, this is obviously great news, but I don't blame you if a little shiver slid down your spine upon hearing the word survey in a Paper Mario game. Paper Mario War veterans all know that a survey, much like this one, was potentially responsible for the series being entirely stripped of all meaningful story. To dredge up that whole thing one more time, when asked about Super Paper Mario after release, allegedly, less than 1% of respondents mentioned caring about the story, which led Miyamoto to decide if Paper Mario doesn't need a story, why should we give it one? We still don't know how this happened, and we will probably never know. The story is generally what everyone loves about the first Paper Mario games, Super very much included. I have to imagine it had something to do with demographics of the people receiving and taking that survey. Paper Mario historians will be pondering this until the end of time. And yes, there is a chance something like that could happen again with this new survey. It seems it's only being sent to people in the UK at the moment, and we don't know if it'll hit other territories at all. We also have no idea how many people have received it. There's technically a chance that people get similarly skewed results, but I'm trying not to think about that at present. I'm focusing instead on the fact that right now, Nintendo is listening to Mario RPG. No, they're not just listening. They are asking. They want to know specifically, in no uncertain terms, what their audience thinks about all these things we've been arguing about for years. We've spent nearly 2 decades screaming at Nintendo about things like partners and game mechanics and all that. Hoping that someone up there does. And now they are actively seeking.
はい、これはこっちもですわ。どうかしらものね。
Unprecedented. And this, combined with the Super Mario
I think I'm gonna go back and switch. There doesn't seem to be any puzzle, at least not now.
I once had no hope that we could ever get another traditional Paper Mario
お
game.
主と何を売るのじゃ？
But now, it's changed. The state of Paper Mario has changed. And we can officially say, we can say with complete confidence that, yes, there is hope for Paper Mario. I want to shout it from the mountaintops. Oh, it feels so good to say it, to mean it. There is hope for Paper Mario. There is hope for Paper Mario. I just can't believe we're here. I can't believe this is the world we now live in. We came from such a dark place, but now it's like we have hope again, and it feels good. And of course, it almost goes without saying, hope for Paper Mario isn't just hope for Paper Mario, but RPG Mario as a whole. Because Mario & Luigi deserves to come back as well. The remakes performed poorly, largely thanks to launching on the 3DS when the system was being massively overshadowed by the Switch, and Alpha Tree was shut down as a result. Mario & Luigi is a terrific series that also needs more games, and also something of a creative return to roots, I would say. And Mario RPG, what if instead of a simple reboot, this modernization paved the way for a sequel, or even a whole series? I mean, I get it, Nintendo kind of painted themselves into a corner, creating 3 different Mario RPG series, and I can understand why they wanted to turn Paper Mario into something different. But apparently RPG Mario is just a winning formula. Sorry you made too many amazing games, Nintendo. And new traditional entries in any of these series would be huge. Now, of course, we can't get ahead of ourselves. We don't know what Nintendo does. If Thousand Year Door outsells Origami King, that will work out in our favor. But maybe it won't. And if it doesn't, where will that leave us? And whatever it means, Nintendo giving us these old games and asking us for our Mario RPG
気をつ
opinions
けるんだよ
doesn't necessarily mean that they're looking to return Paper Mario to its roots. They might still feel that each new game
冷や
needs
か
some
しは
sort of
さてさて何にするの
Maybe
じ
the
ゃ
characters and story will return, but the gameplay will still be divisive. Or they'll make it a turn-based RPG again, but still skim on the story and characters. Or maybe we'll get another totally off-the-wall new thing, kind of like the jump from Thousand Year Door to Super. We just don't. But there is a chance that we will get a true Paper Mario 3. That, just knowing that there's at least a teeny
海を変えるのかよ
that it's technically possible that these remakes are paving the way for an epic new traditional Paper Mario on the next system.
うむ
That's all I need for now. That's all I need. That's good. Feels good. Back where it all started. Yeah. 2016 Arlo was wow, who really covered the chips?
Uma. Uma. を変えるのかよ。何にするのじゃ？何にするのじゃ？家事をするんじゃな。家事をするんじゃな。何にするのじゃ？家事をするんじゃな。
Cartoon Network has been basically dead, killing off multiple shows people loved, with only one show reaping in massive rewards. Today marks day 4,000 of Teen Titans Go, a show people love to hate. How could this one show build an entire empire off the hate? Well, it has to do with one quote that Cartoon Network president Sam Register said in 2004. But first, I gotta show you what happened before the show premiered. Imagine you are in charge of creating the next editions of the Teen Titans. There's a catch. The last time we saw the Titans was in 2006, where the final season ended on a cliffhanger. You understand that the show has impacted so many people, with its legacy being praised still to this day. The catch? You are not allowed to build from that show at all. You must start new and stay away from that old show as much as possible. That was a challenge that stuck with creators Aaron Horvath and Michael Jones. Speaking of stuck, in 2012, the creators of the show made one joke that stuck with them forever.
なんぞ装備を変えるのかやどうするのじゃ家事をするんじゃな
Combined with the early arc of Teen Titans Go, the internet went ablaze hearing that the creators of the new show didn't watch the show that they were planning to remove. Except that's not true at all. This one phrase that jokingly has passed through the community like a game of broken telephone. In just 1 year, people went from excited of their favorite show coming back to outrage from the credibility of these new creators working on a beloved franchise, to the point where the creators had to come out and address the backlash.
I would say for the record, I don't want to think fighting for gold on that. I can't see the show.
装備を変えるのかや
It's like Phoenix. You've seen it before. He talks over people. Just kidding.
One joke led to the start of the war between Teen Titans Go and the internet, and the creators could have buckled to that hate, but decided to employ these three simple tactics to farm their hate to their advantage. That shows like Velma, South Park, Family Guy, even the Patrick Star Show did successfully. The first tactic was out of everyone's control, yet it worked so perfectly. Let me tell you the story about Beast Boy. A lot of people would agree that Beast Boy may be the funniest person of the Titans, but his diet within the show is not allowed to matter. Given that he has the ability to turn into animals, he has a lot more empathy towards them that led into him being a vegetarian. Within the first episode of Teen Titans Go, Legendary Sandwich, Raven sends the other Titans to retrieve ingredients for said sandwich, which includes bacon, which is a bit ironic that explained earlier in that episode was a pig eating a sandwich. While he doesn't eat meat in this episode, he did appear to be excited to eat the sandwich that contained meat, even pushing to have the first bite.
I should get the first bite. So what's cooking?
With no teeth. You gotta get off the sandwich now.
My thoughts exactly, Cyborg. However, Beast Boy didn't just want to eat meat, he did. Within Laundry Day, he'd be shown eating hot dogs in an eating competition as a pig. Within Colors of Raven, he'd be shown eating burgers and hot dogs as a pig.
Boy!
家事を
This
する
final
んじゃな
example is the most damning. You can make the argument that the
どうする家事を
legendary
するん
sandwich
じゃ
you
な
didn't eat the sandwich in Laundry Day, it could have been vegan hot dogs, and in Colors of Raven, the burgers and hot dogs were created by magic thus not killing real animals. In my final example, the piece of fences work, but also this episode was one of the first episodes to garner a massive amount of hate for a similar reason. The creators weren't allowed to use the original show to build on this show, so they did the next best thing. To explain their loophole and why this last example of Beast Boy eating meat was hated the most, I must speak about the
なん
episode
で
that
何を売るのじゃ
planned.
取引成立じゃんさてさて何のご用かの
This is the episode How Long Is Forever from the original Teen Titans. Starfire is struggling to wrangle her friends together to celebrate their friendship. Although her friends assure her that it is normal for friends to get on each other's nerves, she's still very worried about everyone drifting apart. This becomes more apparent when fighting Ward. This time-traveling villain absolutely demolishes their efforts to stop him. Starfire decides to ramp things up by tackling him through his time portal, traveling 20 years into the future. In this future, her friends did drift apart, with all of them having rougher futures because of it. Cyborg's technological limits keep him a prisoner to the tower. Beast Boy became a one-man circus act after realizing that he was not cut out to be a solo superhero. Raven is held hostage by her own illusions to where she doesn't even know what reality is anymore.
Has to go away. Just like
さて何にするのじゃ
friends. Check it.
You see firsthand how everyone lives an awful future, and how it tears Starfire apart to see that her friends are no longer friends, and how her last memory of them was them not understanding how easy it is to drift apart. We learned later in an episode that Robin
Nightwing and calls for the Titans, who barely come back in time to stop Morph from traveling even further into the future, leaving Starfire in this reality where friends are always aware.
毎度ありじゃ。そろそろ来ると思ってたぞ。任せとけ。
How Long Is Forever is an incredible episode.
I remember that episode.
It gets for showing how much the Titans need each other. The creators of the spin-off
頑張れよ。
and took this serious and emotional concept and threw it into their wacky comedy show. However, they might not have known how sacred this episode is to select fans of the Titans. Seeing how Beast Boy and Cyborg were treated so seriously in the Teen Titans episode, take a look at how seriously they're treated in Teen Titans Go. But then staring at the future, Beast Boy and Cyborg would go to an establishment called Zippy's Pizza, where it is visibly shown that Beast Boy is eating pepperoni pizza. Pepperoni is usually from pork, which is meat from a pig, the exact animal Beast Boy has shown to be in quite often when eating meat. It is even worse when in this episode he fights over the last slice of pepperoni for so long that years pass. This inconsistency in Beast Boy's character marks the stance the team took in transitioning Teen Titans to Teen Titans Go, and how little they cared about select details. But let's get back to how they took this idea. Similar to the time-traveling aspect of How Long Is Forever, the Titans in this reality have drifted away. However, it is not treated as a sad thing. In fact, Robin, Starfire, and Raven have better futures, which still include responsibilities. Because these three are happy and don't have time to go to the movies with Cyborg and Beast Boy, the latter decides to put their friends' collective happier futures by planning to go back into the past and change it from ever happened. If you were a fan of the original show, to then look at how Starfire from the original show wanted to help her friends stick together because when you're apart, their lives became worse, to then look at this episode and see that Beast Boy and Cyborg want to ruin their friends' happy futures for the sole purpose of dodging responsibility, it makes sense when people dumped on this episode.
これにするんだね。
Dead.
どうするのか。どれにこれにするんだね。
Not only do they go back to the present day and change things to make sure that that future never happens by sharing the slice of pepperoni pizza, the new future made by sharing the pizza into the fight over it is worse for everyone
おお、お
involved.
主たちか。よく来たの。
Because it relinquishes them of responsibility.
何を売るの
However,
さ
this makes sense writing-wise because Beast Boy and Cyborg only went back in time
どう
because
する
none
の
of their
さ
friends in that future wanted to go to the movies with them. In this new future, they still can't go to the movies with them. But now their lives are worse off. They didn't solve the problem they had, thus you can see why this episode became hated. While taking a concept was viewed as going too far for some people, the creators wanted to go even further. And what they would do next would be viewed as one of the
何に
most
するの
polarizing.
さ。
And it would be tested in an episode no one really talks about. You would imagine an episode about dreams wouldn't gain too much controversy, but it was a small experiment for something greater.
Yourself.
I don't remember
何
this.
にするのじゃ。
Robin is currently having a dream about visiting Starfire, which uses footage from Teen Titans traveling to Tokyo. This episode went under the radar for most people, as it was such a small part in the episode, so the backlash for using the original show in such a wacky way was minimal. But what if the creators of the show wanted to go even farther? What if they wanted to use an entire episode of the Teen Titans in the spin-off? If you didn't know any better or watched this on mute, you would not think the following was a Teen Titans Go episode.
Titans! You guys were awesome!
I know. It's the wind. It really has a dramatic effect on
装備を変えるのかよ。
But what about that? Apes are for magicians. Exile. I'm on years old.
They literally took an already animated episode of the Teen Titans and made it safe to air YouTube without it. This whole episode is just Robin and Cyborg fighting over if the cape is cooler.
Now, we'll consider wearing the dream to prevent these things.
装備を変えるのかよ。
Yes, but parents got all the way.
This episode
episode was divided between the people who saw this as nothing more than wacky and those who see this as a disgrace to the Teen Titans lore. Interestingly, this episode was noted to not air that much, probably because the network doesn't want to create on who the Teen Titans are now, because they definitely don't look like the original selves. Using the original show in the reboot was tame. It's actually what the creators of the show were teasing with the original show that made people even more upset. Although one thing that both fans and haters of the Teen Titans would love to see. See if you can figure it out in this episode called Brain Percentage. The Titans are talking about how Beast Boy barely uses 2% of his brain, let alone 10% as the misconception goes. But Cyborg explains that this was created in the media and not in science, so our buyer reacts strongly to this newfound lie.
But the television or movie shows truly say something untrue? Of course not.
The creators knew how much people would love to get a 6th and final season of Teen Titans, and love to ever so occasionally troll people with it. But it wasn't just the creators. Towards the end of the Teen Titans Go movie, titled Teen Titans Go to the Movies, we see a familiar group.
気をつけるんだよ。
The Teen Titans.
Can anyone hear us?
お主たちか。冷やかしは許さぬ。何にするのじゃ？
This Tara Strong, voice actor of Raven, tweeted, "Wow, just so y'all know, at a movie session today, they told us that if the hashtag Teen Titans Go movie kicks all butts, they would do our show at the same time as hashtag Season 6. For reals. So go see it, even if you hate us." To which, just like in Brain Percentages, they angle Season 6 of Teen Titans over the heads of fans for the betterment of the Go. While we didn't get Season 6, we did get a movie that involved the Teen Titans, and it would be the closest we ever get to a continuation of that show so far. So, it was pretty light. The team took lots of opportunities to lean into the comparisons, knowing exactly who would come to watch, and it worked. The spin-off Titans are not taken seriously, but Robin wants to be taken seriously. Within Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans, the running joke is that the Go version Titans, excluding Robin, are more impressed with their original counterparts, suggesting that they are pretty much cooler and better in every way.
Can't fight.
Aw, I didn't say can't. You're just not as good as I am. But anyways, now the Teen Titans Go Robin would take offense to this. And even later in the movie, as other versions of the Teen Titans are showed, the Go versions would conflate being serious to being better, similar to the criticism of their show. However, it wouldn't be a Teen Titans Go crossover if they didn't poke at the critics.
装備を変えるのかよ。
As you look throughout the show so far, they don't care about the lore of the original show. They hate the heads of fans and critics, and lean into the wackiness so much at a time that people were not used to seeing the Titans this way, that they easily formed hate by mastering the first of the 3 tactics, taking absolutely nothing seriously about the entire franchise. However, if anyone said that Teen Titans Go works well because they took nothing serious, they'd be dead wrong. There's so many funny but stupid comedic cartoons that didn't survive as long as Teen Titans Go to that point. Clearly, the show had more than just not taking anything seriously in its sleeve to become the monster that's still here 11 years later. To explain the second tactic, a quick story about another show's tragedy.
探してみますわ。
The show was loved, getting a 7.3 on IMDb and an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, with a 74% audience score. It's also darker, serious, and a slower-paced superhero show called Where the Batman, which fits perfectly in Cartoon Network's DC Nation programming block. So why do people speak about Beware the Batman today? Beware the Batman has been reported by several sources who have received little to no effort in supporting, whereas you couldn't even ad for Teen Titans Go. Beware the Batman was 3 months in, and literally all the financial In the meantime, Teen Titans Go would start hearing more and more, and like all of this 6 times a day. The silver lining is that last episodes of Beware the Batman for the show Superior and the show Weekend. That's okay. This is the first case of Cartoon Network showing favoritism towards Teen Titans Go performance, and it wouldn't be the last. There was a small campaign in early 2015 taking advantage of the polarizing reception of the show and leading into the fact that people don't like it, dubbing it, quote, your new favorite show. Basically implying that you don't have a choice. The show is clearly your favorite. A subsection of people thought this tagline was offensive, saying things such as, Teen Titans Go is hot garbage. It's a dumpster fire at best, as well as, I agree with you. Teen Titans Go. That show needs to be cancelled. I feel really silly recapping a show clearly trolling but getting a reaction they wanted, but people were calling for the people behind the show to never find work again, as well as, quote, stop putting words into the characters' mouths just to satisfy your own selfish purposes. Now the rest of the story, many people may know, but if you don't know, this was the beginning of the Yellow Wall.
Hi,
I'll probably
Karima.
make it sound scary, but you couldn't escape your new favorite show. It was everything.
Hi,
It was
Karima.
everything. To celebrate the 100th episode of Teen Titans Go, Cartoon Network decided to air not just one episode of Teen Titans Go, not two, but
Showing every single episode. And it all leads up to the 100th episode of Teen Titans Go.
well, this wasn't the first marathon or the last one, it was one of the major ones to catch controversy. Given that Teen Titans Go was also a DC property around this time in 2015, they would air ads on the CW, the USA Network, specifically around Monday Night Raw.
お主たちか。
Practically aired
冷やかしは許さぬぞ。
Meanwhile, it is reported that this forced Vendic showed Sonic and Transformers Robots in Disguise to premiere pretty much at the worst time slots, the super early morning slots. This also pushed the DreamWorks Dragon series to Netflix, and the equals Scooby-Doo and what was called Flabby, at the time now called New Release, for glory. Simply put, the year 2015 marked a stronger dominance for Teen Titans Go at the expense of other shows on the network. However, 4 and 5 months
家
today,
事をするんじゃ
start.
な。
Teen Titans Go wanted it all. They got it. Christmas Day marked the start of one of the most infamous schedules of the 2010s. Cartoon Network decided to air 384 showings of Teen Titans Go, taking up 99% of the schedule for the week of Christmas and New Year's Eve. The other 1% of the schedule was
朝までお休みだ
episodes
ね。
of Steven Universe, Sadie Killer, and Kevin Park, which I'm sure were only there because of contracts. Outside of the obvious criticism, Steven Universe is a story-driven show. It would be harder to retain newer fans as the seasons go on, especially if you need prior episodes to understand the context of what's going on in the later episodes. The schedule was made by Scan Schedule Archive, and I want to read his reaction at the time for this masterpiece. Quote, I try to find silver linings in every terrible CN schedule. Like that one from August. At least they're giving OKKO a lot of trust, but I don't think I can find a silver lining in this. Steven Universe is just aired because it was advertised so, and that they need to air those episodes with the Wars of the
は
Stars
い、
and
これは
Turbo.
まだあったよ。
So here's my
レア
answer.
のレアゲッ
You don't need to watch this. At this point,
Hi,
Teen Titans
Karima.
Go was at the top of the mountain. However, they would not
Leon,
receive
Leon,
backlash from viewers who wanted to see other shows. They would receive backlash for where they put this show, and they messed up twice, badly. The first time is the result of unfortunate timing.
Oh, I love you, my little prince.
While this episode itself is not controversial, nor did it gain any extra hate from viewers, the episode gets dark. Raven relishes in her time with the other Titans who are turned old by Magmon, but they are immortal still, and eventually Beast Boy passes away first, with the others not too long after. Raven would visit Death to retrieve the souls, and you get to see how morbid this episode is. However, before I show you this next clip, you must watch it with the right context. This episode aired as a review on the evening of November 13, 2015, the day of the coordinated terrorist attacks in Paris. So some people
はい、
are
これ
offended
はまだあったよ。レアものね。
Cartoon Network and seeing a song like this.
はい、これはどうかしら。レアゲット。あら、レアものレアゲット。
Yikes.
It was unfortunate timing, and it wasn't Teen Titans' fault, nor was it Cartoon Network's fault. I don't think the criticism was warranted, but it was notable, and the other has serious less sense. This next case is less serious and more hilarious in hindsight. Then, over 2018, Cartoon Network uploaded a video within their Stop Bullying Stuff campaign that featured the Beast Boy version of Teen Titans Go.
無理よ。
The buttons.
It garnered significant backlash because not only does Beast Boy within Teen Titans Go bully people, particularly Robin, on a near-episode basis, but the entire show endorses that kind of bullying. I can literally name any episode of the show, but I'll go with them bullying Robin for having baby hands, since Beast Boy, a stand-up individual, never make fun of someone's physical appearance. Like they've mentioned before, the show doesn't want to teach morals or have nice characters. So use the bully type character as a representation of a nice kid. Your anti-bullying campaign doesn't make any sense. This is why later on, they would prefer using characters from other shows, such as Steven Universe. Despite these two major setbacks, their second tactic of being spammed relentlessly by the network is a big part of their rise to dominance. But even with them not taking anything seriously and having network favoritism, that would at best keep them going for a few seasons. What truly set the show apart from any other show in the 2010s, what will have the show spoken about for a long time after it's over, what people who don't even watch the show will know it's their third and best tactic. So there, the creators were, in the middle of getting all the backlash for the show being nothing like its former show, and it was clear that they were going to take some shots back. But I don't know if anyone was prepared for the way they did it though.
何にするのじゃ？銭を貯めたらまた来るのだぞ。
Their third tactic is their best tactic, because they went where few other shows would go. And in this final set of episodes, they came for blood, and it would come in different forms. However, their first shot probably went unnoticed by a lot of people. While this particular episode isn't held in infamy, Ozymandias does contain one of the first shots taken towards critics of the show. It's subtle, but within the scene where the Titans learn about who Ozymandias are, we see a version of DC YouTube. One of the side as quotes Teen Titans No by Childhood Destroyed, which has a thumbnail of a baby crying, duration of 5 hours and 2 minutes, and -5 views. Obviously, this is a shot at people who think the silly, incompetent nature of the Titans to their entire childhood being ruined, which is a common complaint with older shows. I do agree that saying your entire childhood was ruined because you're a people who says more about your childhood than the show. Plus, this was a good episode of Teen Titans Go. However, their shots will not stay limited to subtle things in the background. As you know, one of the biggest criticisms towards the show is that it's not serious, but comes from another show that was liked a lot more and was known for being relatively more serious. Even though Teen Titans had its fair share of silly moments, the pacing was slower, and there was a lot more action than comedy, and the art style was a lot less cartoony. So the creators of the show got together and wrote an episode that poked at this criticism. Robin would want the respect that the Young Justice team has, but his team responds back with what the team usually responds to critics with. Why are you so serious? We're just trying to have fun. The writers also use the Young Justice team to tell Robin that they bring shame to the rest of the superhero world through how they act. The Titans will decide to go so serious that they end up being wacky still.
Like to sing something. Sing what I'm something like that.
そろそろ来ると思って任せとけ。
Go back to criticism of the show being too silly or not as serious as its former show. You have people who love the original Teen Titans show, and most likely are upset at the fact that it ended on a cliffhanger. But people heard that the show was coming back, settling the last season of the original show would be high on the list, because no fan enjoyed their show anymore.
As well, get everyone to level 70-ish.
The revival of that show in Teen Titans Go, when a writer was returning is valid. The episode has them actually win against the Hive the next time that they battle. And now that they're great at crime fighting, they separate because they're too serious about everything.
The Teen Titans. I thought being serious would bring us closer. It's only driven us. Nothing else.
While not aging the best, it does serve as the first major shot thrown against the critics of the show, and would not be their last or their worst. In fact, one of their next shots is still considered one of the worst episodes from the show. Let me show you why.
You don't understand. Slain. Slain. That's right. Slain.
There's several reasons that this episode was torn apart, so buckle up. For one, the episode's title implies that Slade, a major villain that showed up within the original Teen Titans show, will be a major part of this episode in the spin-off. However, this episode is a big change. Slade was never going to show up. They show graphics that action and what happens off-screen purposefully.
That's a good thing, bro. It was just
The real episode is about the fact that Beast Boy and Cyborg loved clowns as a kid, but through growing up, no longer like clowns because of their stupid kitty jokes, with Raven and Robin acting as the straight men to interject commentary on liking clowns.
それじゃ聞かせてくれん？いや受けたってや。おや、何をそれじゃ聞かせてくれん？
Coming back to this episode, I am conflicted. I do believe that older people place heavy expectations on kid shows today to make them feel the way they did when they were kids, which is a near impossible task. I also believe that when people say they want kid shows to be good, it's a vague term. It can mean anything. It's near impossible to satisfy, as people tend to bring up shows that they grew up with as examples of the good times. However, I also believe this analogy doesn't work for several reasons. For one, Cyborg end up extremifying the clown to make it darker, edgier, so that people can enjoy it. Raven and Robin expressing that.
It's wrong. Okay, it's a little, but still something that's meant to be for kids and made it totally inappropriate. Just still enjoy something you should have outgrown.
The argument is what appears to be lame kiddie jokes are made with children's entertainment in mind, so making it edgier to appeal to teens and adults is losing the focus on why the clown exists in the first place. This show from the network that was a regular show, Adventure Time, and The Amazing World of Gumball shows that were for kids, that teens and adults loved, that had potentially inappropriate humor and edgier aesthetics. This doesn't even bring up Steven Universe, Infinity Train, The Looney Tunes Show, or Chowder. Shows that did appeal to teens and adults while still being a show, that didn't extremify their show to satisfy their audiences. And Teen Titans Go is that Teen Titans Go purposefully went the route of being as immature and ridiculous as possible. They aimed for the jokes to be stupid but funny.
どうしたのかね？どうしました？誰を呼びますか？気をつけるんだよ。
All due respect, if you aim for the bottom of the barrel, you don't get to be put next to the top. However, I am glad creators of the show owned this aspect, and while they were cooking up responses for criticisms, they were ready to take it to the next level. In fact, they would place a special character that would be the resident hater of Teen Titans Go.
That looks like us.
Tama na yung sobrang tama na.
Looks like us. But
These Teen Titans were about characters.
used to be so much cooler.
At the time, an episode like this was considered one of the biggest shots thrown back at the critics of that year, and it all came through this man, Control Freak, in one of its most notable episodes of this show, The Fourth Wall. Control Freak was the stand-in for critics who would continue to compare the two shows, thinking that Teen Titans Go is garbage for its low-brow humor. The reason it's called The Fourth Wall is because the Titans are revealed to be aware that there are cartoon characters in the show, speaking directly to the audience.
People are watching us without our permission. Ew, bunch of creeps.
Creeps, you fools been creepy.
If they can get their acts together, Control Freak want to reboot them. Years later, I still find this episode bizarre. Basically, the entire premise is appealing to people who don't like the show, who are adults, who knew about the prior show, critique the show, and those people wouldn't have changed their opinion on the show anyway.
Precious wooden statues for industry applicants.
Didn't you just learn that you were a show and now you're talking about the industry? Plus, this episode is just like, let's get serious, because, again, our response is to take the criticism and fix them to such a wacky, ridiculous degree. Now that,
Just like the stupid film, yeah? Oh, yeah. It's true. Corrupt and long.
you clearly have to care about responding to them, especially when in this episode, you stress how the limited budget explains why they don't push the animation farther than they typically do. When you are the most popular show on Cartoon Network, that says more about the network than a response to the critics. Teen Titans Go would go on to release a mini-series called Island Adventures, and while the special event is largely normal episodes, the last episode in the mini-series probably caught more attention than it should have. In this episode, Robin and the rest of the Titans learned that the island was fake the entire time. It was actually a ploy for Control Freak to change the Titans' environment in an attempt to make them more entertaining. Control Freak serves as the stand-in again for the critic of the show, and like usual, its criticisms are just that the show is garbage, awful, because it isn't like what it used to have. The Titans are taken aback, especially because in the beginning of this episode, they longed for something more exciting to do, to be stranded on an island, such as a fight with every villain out there. Surprisingly, this is exactly what they received.
どうするのじゃ？
People so mean.
家事をするんじゃな。
Episodes explain that the hate really looks overwhelming, but when you zoom out, they're just fine. And they end up fighting everyone anyway. It's a nothing episode, but only worthy of note because of how they portrayed their critics, calling them losers who are afraid of change with nothing better to do. The creators of the show were getting somewhere using a character like Control Freak as a stand-in for the critic. However, instead they combined taking shots at critics, spamming the network, and taking nothing seriously with one of the easiest ways to gain attention in animation. They created some of the most notable, yet oddly repetitive shots taken at critics through Teen Titans Go episodes. And that's what they're crossovers. While Truth, Justice, and What isn't a particularly infamous episode, as far as I know, it is the second crossover episode that runs with the narrative that all they are is silly and wacky, you shouldn't take them seriously, and it's another episode written directly by the creators of the show. Basically, the Titans, except Robin, don't care about truth or justice, or really being a superhero. As the show hammers that into your head, they care about pizza, and that's the only reason they joined the Titans in the first place. When Robin bans pizza because they creates the addicted to it, decides to join that other pizza-loving crime-fighting team. Yes, they beat up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of all teams, which yes, are owned by Paramount, which ironically is their second time turning up in this show, as they show up for a brief moment in the episode on Thanos. They get talked over who has ownership over pizza, and the Titans get their butts kicked, because the show wants you to understand that they're not great at their job. This is only room for one easy random superhero team, You're forgetting one thing.
おお、家事をするんじゃな。
I'm seriously outraged at this. Well, are you kidding me? The
どう
Cartoon
する
Network
のじゃ？
stole
あ
the
な
teenage
たは冷たい
from
の。
their show. Cartoon Network bites and Cartoon Network. When the Cartoon Network steals the TMNT Turtles without permission, that is illegal. Maybe one day the police find out and put them in jail. Same with these episodes, but different characters. Obviously, it is a reference in this case that fair use is protected by fair use, ironically the law that allows for this sites to exist. However, as we go down this rabbit hole and reach the bottom, it'll get more and more bitter, and the episode quality will get worse and worse. What happens when you take
銭を貯めたらまた来るのだぞ。
another reboot that people hate? Ironically, when coming together, fun. It was a wacky adventure.
あ、また来たな。疲れたら無理すんなよ。お主何にするのじゃ？
While not a new point, TTG versus PBG used a smart tactic, making the other show, in this case the Powerpuff Girls 2016, look as good as possible, and at your own show's expense, because your fans are already coming to watch you anyway. While the Powerpuff Girls did not receive the same treatment of being liked more and more over time, we can chalk this up to another episode of the show that feeds off of the hate that it gets.
装備を変えるのかよ。
Looks like the Teen Titans win after all.
This works.
The creators of the show would assume for this to work a second time, with another reboot that people hated out of the gate. However, lightning did not strike twice. Unlike their crossovers with the Powerpuff Girls or Teen Titans, this one specifically follows the typical internet reaction to a reboot.
In
a sense, they are shutting the door to select versions of critics of their own show, posting the Titans as the reactor to Roar, but analogous to the Titans, Starfire is the voice of reason in the same way the creators of the spin-off would like for the critics of this show to see with their own version of their own show. I covered this episode in detail in my Why is Teen Titans Go Still Winner after 7 years video, and I still ask that question here.
They were drawn by a bunch of vegans.
They spend all of this time praising the Thundercats in this version, and little did they know, people actually didn't like Roar, and it ended after a season. Personally, I thought the hate was overblown, but I acknowledge that I'm not particularly connected to the OG show or even the 2011 version. However, unlike Roar, Powerpuff Girls, or even the Ben 10 reboot, what those three shows don't have in common with Teen Titans Go is their treatment by the network.
Yeah, Warner Brothers. I don't know why you like them so much. Bring back the old Thundercats. Peace.
Don't know how to make cartoons, but they sure know how to make food.
Before we get to the worst critic call-out episodes, let's discuss the most direct call-out Teen Titans Go has ever done. 200th episode is incredibly meta, to the point where there's no 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th wall to break. The entire premise is that there is no 200th episode so far, so the Titans go into the real world to get the real staff to write a real 200th episode. While it is full of commentary about the animation process, it does take a lot of shots at critics. Just look at how the team responds to Starfire, and she gives a very bland idea.
何にするのじゃ？さてさて、何装備を変えるのかよ。
If this video shows you anything, Team really wants you to know that they're not just fart jokes, but at the same time, that they stand by their fart jokes. Brave. When their episode doesn't go over well with the rest of the real staff, they realize how hard it is to make a Teen Titans Go episode.
199 good to mediocre one.
A lot of work for one channel. Exhausting. Plus, now we have to hear from haters on the internet.
Show from my childhood.
Maybe now you can understand where we're coming from.
If this video and this episode also show you anything, it is that the creators of this spinoff care immensely that a subsection of people heard the show dislike the show with great passion. While it is somewhat wholesome to see the creators' family in this episode, given that they've given a lot of their time and life up to work on this show, I imagine an alternate reality where the haters were never acknowledged, and what fun adventures are had there instead. So, towards the end of the special also takes shots at the critics. Again, someone who clearly cares about the fact that they have haters. In fact, they cared so much that when approached by a Make-A-Wish child, they decided to rope him in on the action.
Hello, Ben. Are you sure? I thought everyone considered us an abomination.
Everyone except Wally Wally.
Wally T, while voiced by Tara Strong now, the character is based on a real-life child named William Walter Thompson, as a Make-A-Wish contribution that they used to create a critic call episode about. The entire episode is about how no one likes them except for this kid, and how even though the whole world thinks their show sucks, this kid doesn't. And that's why they keep pushing forward. However, who had the argument that kids didn't like Teen Titans Go?
Well, Walter, you like the Teen Titans or Teen Titans? That sounds
Makes sense.
yeah, okay. Yeah, he's weather. Well, I don't care as long as you don't consider us garbage. You don't consider us garbage, right?
Like with other episodes, like the fourth wall and the 200th episode, it just seems so silly that if you're so under budgeted, why would you spend time making suits and hope you get people who don't like or don't watch the show? More importantly, if you have to hide behind one fan of the show to make your point, it's probably not that great of a point to make. Raven and Starfire also spend a considerable amount of this episode hardcore flirting with them.
And being this close to making me seem. Look how strong he's making me now.
I wish I was kidding. The rest of this episode isn't that much better, and I wish I could get behind this episode. Because it is wholesome to dedicate an episode to a fan in this way, but I wish they decided to do a standard Teen Titans Go adventure, rather than one where the entire premise is that we have to be our wacky selves in front of the haters to please these Make-A-Wish kids. If you truly believe that, why not just do that? Now, this last episode is the most bitter the show has ever gotten so far. It uses all of the tactics we've mentioned before. Not caring about lore, not taking anything seriously, responding to critics, using Control Freak as a character, and crossing over
Using Control Freak as a character.
Better. Welcome to Cartoon Feud! And I'm playing the Terrans. Not only is Cartoon Feud yet another episode that speaks out about the criticism that the show has, but this time they've dragged Scooby-Doo into the mix. But not without Control Freak guiding us along the way.
取引何を売るのじゃ銭を貯めたらまた来るのだぞ
There are older people out there who do want to see classic cartoons, which you provided on Max. However, we both know that the criticisms that actually had merit was that there were new shows that had preferable stories that weren't given that treatment on the schedule at all. Unless you want to say people didn't care about Mao Mao, Infinity Train, Seek and Seek, Elliot from Earth, The Fungies, Wacky Races, Aquaman King of Atlantis, Mega Man Fully Charged, Power Players, Apple Onion, Victor and Valentino, Thundercats War, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, Summer Camp Island, DC Superhero Girls, or Scooby-Doo, and guess who? I guess never.
Big one.
For one, the network can be wrong. The network also didn't want to pay subscribers for residuals on streaming services. The network also kept your budgets low, as you stated multiple times in the show. Secondly, can you put to the people who didn't want to see those 16 shows? Or is it that the network simply just min-maxed their own schedule, so if a cartoon didn't pick up an enormous amount of potential out of the gate, it was assumed to never pick up steam? Even though we have proof that the network didn't understand that the shows later on went on to gain an audience, which is now going to be harder to track because all of the streaming services keep their analytics private. And also, Cartoon Network barely has anything to gain steam today besides Teen Titans Go, which is ruining their market share and its demographic.
If those classic cartoons can't stand the competition, then who deserve it to be on television?
Oh, I'm sure the network is doing amazingly right now. Tons of fresh properties that kids enjoy today. The rest of this episode is a recreation of Family Feud. But the theme is why the Teen Titans are so bad and why Scooby-Doo is so better.
どうぞ
There is the novelty of seeing these two teams crossing over, but this isn't any different than the fourth wall, DTG versus PPG. It's literally just the Teen Titans getting dunked on for most of the show, but winning in the editing. The reason I would say this is the most bitter is because you can do any story in the universe with these characters. You are such a popular franchise that you're given the okay to bring on other franchises, and it seems the only story you want to tell with them is they like you guys better than us, and they're probably right, but we don't want to change. You clearly care that people don't like you. No human being would entertain this over this many seasons.
So much more ridiculous. It's funny and calm.
Because they get along like real teams.
Yes.
Yeah, you
So over these last 11 years, they've employed so many tricks to stay relevant. However, what if I told you, even with this show taking nothing seriously, getting network favoritism, and making a ton of critic call-out episodes, that we are still missing the final piece of this puzzle? Even with those great tactics, we have to come full circle. The boss, Sam Register. Teen Titans was criticized for its art style being wacky compared to the serious shows of its time in 2004, and this is what he said at that time. Justice League is awesome. and Samurai Jack is awesome, and we buy a lot of anime shows that are great, but those shows are directed more towards the 9 to 14 age group, and the 6 and 7 and 8-year-olds were not gelling with the Justice League and some of the more fanboy shows. The main mission was making a good superhero show for kids. Now, if the fanboys happen to like Teen Titans also, that's great, but that was not our mission. Just like with the show we hold near and dear today, the exact same mission is tailored towards the kids of today. This is an ongoing cycle. It will repeat forever, as each generation will think of their version of these properties to be the best. What Sam Webster didn't know is that 20 years later, Cartoon Network would be failing their mission of making great shows for kids. And yours truly saw this happen before its implosion. So check out this video here to see how Cartoon Network imploded in the 2020s.
Okay. イエス Wow! Okay!
どうぞ。
Wait, no. I didn't mean to get that. Fuck. Too late. Fuck me. Maybe it works for Dismiss Blow and Blast. Maybe I should try getting those skills.
覚えましたわ。はい。
誰を呼びますか？
よし。よし。はい。
任せろ。任せろ。任せろ。
覚えましたわ。覚えましたわ。まあ。はい。
Okay.
どうぞ。どうしますか？どうぞ。誰を呼びますか？いってらっしゃい。
あ、また来たな。はいはい。夕方まででいいの？決まった。みんな頑張
That's
れ
the
よ。
team I want to play with.